Purple Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.
I will ride with this group.
Seriously, man. Please.
And away we go.
All right, Vikings Vent Line rolling on here. We are just days away from the NFL draft. It's finally here. We're going to be, of course, at the Fillmore in Minneapolis. So for those that were able to grab tickets, we're excited to hang out. We're excited to celebrate you most likely at the Fillmore, Minneapolis. And for those watching on YouTube, which will still be streaming, we'll still have the Purple Daily Draft Party streaming right here on the YouTube channel. We'll have it podcastable too in some forms on the audio side. But we're super excited for the NFL draft, and I'm very jacked to talk with Jimmy and Roman here in just a bit about expectations in the upcoming draft. This is Vikings Vent Line, so if you've stumbled upon this show for the first time, welcome. This is a show for you, the Vikings fan. If you'd like to come on a future episode, talk about the offseason, upcoming expectations, whatever you'd like, you can hit me up at vikingsventline@gmail.com. That's vikingsventline@gmail.com. I host this show in the offseason. During the regular season, after every game, Mackie, Judd, and myself like to hop on here, and we talk with as many Vikings fans as we possibly can. And then in the offseason, I still like to host a little bit of an offseason edition to talk about other things as well. So if this is a show you'd like to be a part of, please feel free, hit me up. It is vikingsventline@gmail.com. A special shout out to our friends at Popped Corn. Some of the VIP members will be getting a special bag of popcorn. They're also sponsoring the flag. So when Judd waves that flag, you can thank your friends, our friends, I should say, at Popped Corn for helping make that happen. Go buy some tasty, delicious popcorn. They're located in Minnetonka in the metro area, but you can buy their popcorn at their website at poppedcorn.com. All right, let's get our guys in here. Let's get Jimmy and Roman in here on Vikings Vent Line. Jimmy making his debut edition. Roman, you're returning for a third time, I believe, here. Jimmy, I know there's not like a lot of Taylor Swift and Purple Daily Vikings fans.
No,
I am one of them. I'm a rare one of them, so I alienate some of myself here. But I do appreciate the JJ Eras Tour shirt you're rocking here today.
Yeah, thank you. It's from the TikTok shop. You know, those tailored targeted ads are getting a little bit too scary accurate these days.
Yes, they are. They certainly are. And Roman, welcome back to Vikings Vent Line, dude. How are you?
Thanks, Dex. Good to be here. Thanks for having me. I'm good. It's good to be a Viking fan. Exciting time.
Heck yeah. Yeah, let's talk some draft here, boys. So we're days away. There's been tons of speculation. There's been tons of mocks. There's been a ton of valuations. We've been able to break down a lot of it right here on Purple Daily, but love to ask you guys. Roman, I'll start with you. Which quarterback do you want the Vikings to go grab? I'm going to assume Caleb Williams is obviously off the board, but which quarterback do you want to see the Vikings go grab on the draft on Thursday?
Sure. Great question. I'm going to give you a kind of a long-winded, complicated answer because It is complicated. I would love to see us go get Jayden Daniels. I think he's the most well-rounded, balanced quarterback, great skill set, would plug in well to Kevin O'Connell's scheme and our offense. However, realistically, I don't know if we're willing to go get him. He's probably going at number 2 to Washington. If for some reason they pass on him and he falls to 3, I would love to see Kwesi and the front office try and put something together to go get him at 3. Problem is, for them, is it too much? Again, you guys have talked endlessly on the show in past episodes about going up and giving up kind of whatever you need to go get your guy and who Kevin thinks is our guy and Kwesi and so forth. So I would love that. However, realistically, probably Drake Maye and JJ McCarthy are our best options, and they are great options. I would love to see either one of them, but really my answer is whoever Kevin O'Connell can elevate the highest and get the most out of in our system. We've seen Kevin O'Connell elevate Kirk Cousins, and that plug and play, he didn't really have a lot of mobility. Kirk O'Chains didn't, but he got the most out of Kirk and elevated him as a leader. We then saw the other end of the spectrum with Josh Jacobs and his skill set and his mobility. And we were very excited when we picked him up from Arizona mid-season, and he did some flashy things right away. And then after the first 2 weeks, when we played Denver, things kind of rolled downhill, right? And was that more so because Dobbs was out of his depth? Yes, I think so. But also, was that Kevin trying to put the reins on him and plug him into the offense that he wanted Dobbs to run? And I think the truth is somewhere in the middle. So it's interesting. We talk about mobility. Drake Maye has that. He's got that playmaking factor. He has that downfield ability. But who is going to be able to take this offense and elevate it to its highest and be the best in Kevin's system? JJ McCarthy may be that guy. So interesting to see. But all in all, I want to see the guy that can be elevated the most in our offensive scheme.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think a lot of fans have a lot of trust in what Kevin O'Connell wants to do here. I wouldn't say that's completely universal. I think some fans, still are a little skeptical about certain prospects with KOC, but they kind of have no other choice basically but to trust him here in year one, or at least year one with the rookie quarterback as he enters his third season coaching the Vikings. So I'm excited to see who he drafts. And yeah, if it's Daniels or if it's McCarthy, which kind of feel like McCarthy might be the one, I'm really excited to see that. Jimmy, are you looking at a QB that you really want the Vikings to go grab at the draft?
Dear Diary, I would love Jayden Daniels. I just think he has it. I mean, throwing 40 touchdowns and rushing for 10 in the SEC is no joke, but I think he's pretty much good to put on a Commander's jersey right now. I think he's going to be out of our depth. So I think the Vikings' best chance to move up to 3, probably getting Drake Maye, but I think I'm in the minority that I'm excited to see what Kevin O'Connell can do with Sam Darnold. Like back in 2021, even those first 5 weeks, he had those leading the league in rushing touchdowns. He has that mobility that we're not really used to with Kirk. And now that he's out of the building, I'm at least excited to see what he can do with it. I think Drake Maye is great. I don't know if I'm necessarily ready to start him week 1. So I think that that's a really great opportunity for him to come to Minnesota, maybe sit a year behind Darnold, learn the reins and everything, and then possibly pass on and pass the keys over to Drake. But I really think we can't go wrong. At least the Vikings have, like you all mentioned in early podcasts, we have almost too good of a car that I think so long as it's their guy, then I think they're going to be fine. But I also really believe that this draft class is too deep to overpay for somebody. So I think especially if we're going to be throwing in anything beyond the 11 and the 23, I think we'll know as a fan base that is really Kwesi's and Kevin O'Connell's guy, because there's so many good options, even QB5, QB6, like Spencer Rattler, Bo Nix, any of those guys I think in an earlier draft class would have probably gone much, much sooner, at least been taken in a lot higher regard than we currently are giving them.
So, well, Jimmy, let me stick on you there. Let's actually kind of transition to that Sam Darnold question I sent you guys over to. So do you trust Sam Darnold to play a full season? Do you think he can get the most out of him as the rookie, maybe just kind of gradually learns the system, learns the ropes and is able to kind of ease his way into the NFL? You kind of trust Sam Darnold?
I think if anybody were to do it, yeah, I think if anybody were to do it, it's Kevin. And I mean, it's the whole reason why we hired him. And I think we as a fan base kind of need to back that up. And I mean, if we're not getting anything out of him or out of a rookie quarterback, then maybe we were wrong on Kevin O'Connell. But until he gives us a reason to not believe in him and everything, I'm a big Kevin O'Connell stan. I guess he's got a little bit of an injury bug. I know back in 2022, he had that ankle thing. And I mean, that was obviously after Baker had already won the starting job in Carolina. But I mean, he played entirely healthy last year. And I think my personal preference is that I'd really like for the rookie quarterback, regardless of who they are, to get the sit a year behind Sam Darnold. Hopefully that's sitting behind Sam Darnold, taking us all the way to the playoffs and the Super Bowl. But if not, I do believe that Sam Darnold can at least get us some quality reps and at least better than what we currently have on the roster.
For sure. Roman, how about you, man? Is Sam Darnold able to take a next step here? I mean, is there a world where Sam Darnold leads the Vikings to the playoffs? What's your kind of expectations for Darnold as the starting quarterback of the Vikings?
Yeah, I mean, anything is possible. And Jimmy, I love your answer because I agree with you. If there's anybody to elevate Sam's game, it's Kevin O'Connell, right? I mean, he took Nick Mullins, for goodness sake, and he threw for over 1,300 yards, and there were some games he was throwing for over 400. So when you've got JJ, TJ, JA, and all of the weapons that we've got on offense, it's kind of hard to fail. So he's a guy that I think will keep us on the steady ship and make us competitive. He's probably the best mediocre quarterback that you can ask for to at least hopefully lead us to the playoffs. My projections are 11-6, best case scenario, absolute best case scenario for a record. And my hot take is that we end up being the top 4 best in the NFC teams. So 4th best, not seeding wise. So I think we get in as a wild card behind Detroit, but I do think that we have the 4th best record in the NFC. So regardless of, take that as that all Sam Darnold, I don't know. It depends. I do think he will play at least half the season, and depending on who we get in the draft as well, like a JJ McCarthy, I think starts at least some point in the season. If we get him, if it's Drake Maye, completely agree. I think we sit him the entire year just based on where he is and what the scouts are saying and other, front office professionals throughout the league. But yes, I think Sam definitely could take us to above 500 football. I just don't know if he has enough to get us deep into the postseason.
Yeah. What about Jimmy? Do you have a hot take? To put you on the spot here a little bit, but do you have a hot take for the Vikings coming up this season, whether it's Sam Darnold or team related?
I have a Vikings hot take and I have a draft hot take. I'll start with my draft hot take. My draft hot take is that Michael Penix would be getting a lot more love if he weren't a left-handed quarterback. Yeah. I think that he'd be a lot higher in the going top 15 in the draft if offense didn't essentially have to rework their scheme. That's why I think that a team like Vegas is probably a good landing spot for him. Somebody with a rookie head coach that's not going to have to essentially rewrite the playbook or something around them, because they're going to kind of be developing together with it, as opposed to someone like the Vikings, where I know that he has all the physical attributes, but the Vikings are kind of tailored to. I'm granted we're very fortunate to have bookend tackles and everything, and maybe there's a world in which Darisaw switches over and plays right tackle too if we were to actually end up taking him. But my Vikings hot take though is that in similar line is that I do think that we finish in the top of the league. I think if we do make the playoffs, I think it would probably be as like maybe like the 7th seed, closer to that. But I do think that as a scoring offense, that whoever's driving the car is still going to give us a top 10 scoring offense.
Okay, I like it. Yeah, there's always so many variables in NFL seasons, and it'll be interesting to see like kind of where the Vikings fall into that, whether that's in a positive way. Maybe they don't take a step back and they're just right back in the playoff picture. Maybe that's going to be a little bit of a growing pains with Sam Darnold, and maybe the rookie takes over and shows you a little something to get you excited about the next year, and the long-term plan the Vikings looks a lot better. But the NFL is kind of not set up for teams to just be bad for year after year, and I think KOC and with this roster I think it's too good for it to be really bad pending, catastrophic injuries. Going back to the draft, Roman, is there positions you also want to see the Vikings kind of try to figure out in the draft here? I mean, there are some holes in the roster. So outside of quarterback on draft day throughout, what rounds or days 1, 2, and 3, what positions do you want to see the Vikings go after?
Yeah, I know that answer changed for me as soon as the free agency started, right? Because we made some moves early on, which were good to see. Hunter leaving hurts, but with the defensive ends that we got, Van Ginkel, you talk about a Viking name, Van Ginkel. That's just, he was the one guy that I wanted us to get in free agency. And he was mentioned on your show as the top 10 free agency prospects. And I was really happy to see them be so aggressive to start the season and not let guys with big potential and early in their career slip and fall to other teams. So that was good to see. So a couple of weeks ago, my answer would have been different. But right now, I would say defensive tackle, number one. You've got to get some depth. You've got to get some help out there for Harrison Phillips. He's a good, solid starter, but he's not a guy that you're going to be able to hang your hat on and is a star on your defense. So you need somebody to help with the offensive running game, to help defend against the running game, but also put some pressure on the quarterback from the pass rush standpoint. We still have a lot of work to do in that regard. So finding a big body up front in the middle at D tackle would be my number one, after quarterback, of course. And then offensive guard, Brandell just isn't, to me, the answer. He's a good depth guy, but you need somebody to get in there and start all season. And if for whatever reason there's an injury, Brandell can go in and I think would be a suitable backup. But I don't know in terms of starting if he's going to be that all season. So Reisner's still out there, and we've talked about that until we're blue in the face. Who knows what's happening there? But I think offensive guard, cornerback is third on my list. Inexperienced room there. I would love for us to see some improvement. I think we have a lot of promise there, but I would like to see another young guy potentially that could shine through. And then wide receiver is my fourth need, and then a punter. Let's go get Torrey Taylor, huh?
Yeah, they could use some more. They're going to use a special teams overhaul. And yeah, wide receiver is an interesting one because obviously, I mean, JJ and Addison are studs, but there's just a huge drop off after that, and injuries are going to happen. Some things are going to happen there, and you can't really trust maybe Brandon Powell or some random free agent they could still go grab to kind of be the third wideout. So maybe there's like an explosive wide receiver, and this class does look like it does have a lot of depth at wide receiver in the NFL draft. So that is an important one too that probably some fans forget about. Jimmy, how about you? Any of those positions that you really want to see the Vikings go after in the draft?
Yeah, my number one's the same. I think D tackle is definitely where we're hurting the most. I know that y'all in a previous show are going over essentially where the Vikings roster sits as of today. And I was definitely getting pretty nervous hearing who we currently have to play interior right now. But yeah, this draft class I think would be a great one, especially some of those fourth-round picks. Maybe we could even, if we're not giving them away as a kicker, to move up in the draft, maybe even pairing the 2 fourth-round picks to jump up into the third or possibly even second with some future picks to get some of those other bigger name D tackles. Or maybe now because of his DUI, maybe Sweat drops down to the fourth round and the Vikings can rehabilitate him and everything. We'll just see what happens with that. But I do think that for me personally, wide receiver is our second biggest hole. Our offensive line, I think, is okay. Obviously, our interior is questionable, but I think we have the building blocks for it, and at least we do have some experience with Garrett Bradbury and our 2 tackles. But wide receiver, especially, I think we've seen it with when JJ went down last season. Jordan Addison stepped up, and that was huge. But TJ's status is going to be relatively unknown, at least for the couple. We can kind of expect him to not be available the first few weeks of the season. So I think having a couple more reliable pass catchers, especially if we do end up having a rookie quarterback getting some meaningful minutes for us, I'd like him to have as many weapons and options available. And then moving on to corner and guard as well. I think, I think there's still a couple of good free agents that are currently available. Some of them a little bit older, like the Xavier Howards of the world, who I think maybe the Vikings could call week 3 or week 4 if whoever currently on roster aren't doing it for us. But yeah, I think my top 2 holes that we need to fill in the draft are tackle and wide receiver behind quarterback.
I like it. Yeah, I'm excited for the draft to play out. We'll see if they have even, day 2 picks. Right now, they don't have any second or third round picks. There could be some trade back situations. So going to be a fascinating draft to figure out, especially when we're all trying to figure out which quarterback is going to be the next franchise guy for the Vikings after moving on from Kirk Cousins. Roman, do you have any last takes? I know both of you guys were able to drop some hot takes there in the middle of this episode, but any other final takes, any shout outs you'd love to give? Go ahead, my man.
Sure. Well, thanks again for bringing me on. First off, I'm going to go with a hot take / write that down. Okay. Kevin O'Connell will win Coach of the Year.
All right. I like it.
Boom.
I like it.
And I would like to thank my dad for bringing me in for a lifetime of misery and pain, but entertainment at the same time. I love being a Viking fan. So many memories growing up at home, just having him hooping and hollering, picking me up on his shoulders when the Vikings would pull a big win out. That Lambeau playoff win with the moon and the despicable act by Randy Moss. The great moments, the not so good moments, but so my dad, definitely shout out to him, and my wife for putting up with me. So, yeah.
I like it. Jimmy, how about you, man? Any shout outs, any last takes?
Yeah, I'll shout out my oldest brother. So I'm from Virginia. My oldest brother is the reason why I'm a Vikings fan. Both my parents are from Philly, so I really do have every reason to be an Eagles fan. But uh, a chance game of Tecmo Super Bowl in the early '90s, where my brother, with Wade Wilson throwing a 100-yard pass to Chris Carter, somehow cemented his fandom as a Viking and as an impressionable little brother. Wanted to follow and root for the same team as my big brother. So a shout out to him for bringing me into this. I recently had a daughter as well, so I'm excited to bring her into the fold of Viking fandom, and hopefully we can win a Super Bowl, if not in my lifetime, hopefully at least in hers. But also shout outs to, I'm in a couple of different fantasy football leagues as well. So shout out to all my boys that play fantasy football with.
I like it, guys. Awesome stuff. Appreciate you both coming on Vikings Vent Line here. We'll do it again another time for sure. And if anyone watching, listening wants to come on a future episode, you can hit me up. It's vikingsventline@gmail.com. It's draft week now coming up at Purple Daily. We're super excited. So hit that subscribe button. Daily Vikings Entertainment. This has been Vikings Vent Line.